Stop being selfish. Your sister's twins need a bigger yard, Dad said, standing in my backyard with a realtor. We're listing it next week. You'll stay in the garage apartment. My brother-in-law laughed. Finally, a real house for real family. I smiled. Got it. That night, I started packing. Then I got a text from an unknown number. Don't leave. Check the basement. Grandma, what I found changed everything. My dad was standing in my backyard like he owned the air. He had a realtor with him. Clipboard, measuring tape, the whole act. My sister Tara hovered near the patio doors with her twins on their little balance bikes, smiling like this was a house hunting show and not my life. Dad didn't even say hello. He pointed at Lily's swing set, my kid's swing set, and said, "Stop being selfish. Your sister's twins need a bigger yard." The realtor nodded like that sentence belonged on paperwork. Dad kept going, voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear. We're listing it next week. You'll stay in the garage apartment. My brother-in-law Kyle actually laughed. He didn't even try to hide it. Finally, he said, looking around my backyard like it was already his. A real house for real family. Lily was on the back step holding a paper snowflake she'd cut for the kitchen window. She'd been so careful with it. Her little fingers were still covered in glued dots. She didn't cry. That's what tore me up. She just folded the snowflake in half and held it against her chest like she was trying to make it smaller, like she was the thing that took up too much space. I felt my throat go tight. My hands went cold. I wanted to explode. I wanted to shout, "Get out of my yard. Get out of my life." But my family had trained me my whole life to be the calm one, the fixer, the one who didn't make scenes. So, I did the thing that always kept me safe as a kid. I smiled. Not warm, not friendly, just a thin, controlled line. Got it, I said. Dad looked satisfied, like he'd won a negotiation. Kyle smirked like a man who thought he was about to upgrade his life for free. The realtor asked, "So, we're thinking Thursday for photos." My dad answered like I wasn't standing there. "Thursday works." Lily looked up at me then, quick and small, like a bird checking for danger. I squeezed her shoulder and said softly, "Go get your shoes, Lil." She nodded and went inside without a sound. My dad watched her go and didn't even flinch. That was the injustice right there in daylight. My kid quietly being erased while grown adults planned her displacement like it was a storage problem. I'm Miles. I was 38 then. I worked as an engineer, long hours, steady pay, the kind of job where people assume you're fine because you have a good career. I was a single dad. Lily was 8. And yes, she was adopted. My wife and I couldn't have kids. We waited years. Paperwork, meetings, inspections, all of it. Then we got Lily, and she walked into our lives like she'd always been there. 2 years later, my wife died. A car accident on a rainy night. No dramatic last words, just gone. After that, Lily and I were all each other had. My parents like to say they supported me through it. But what they really did was decide Lily was temporary. Like if they ignored the adoption long enough, biology would correct itself. They never said it outright at first. They did it in smaller ways. Family photos where Lily was asked to take the picture. Birthday parties where she got a generic card while the twins got big wrapped gifts. My mother calling her that sweet little girl instead of her name. My dad saying things like, "She's lucky you took her in." Like Lily was a stray-eyed fed once. And the worst part, I kept showing up anyway because I was also the family wallet. That started way before Lily. When I got my first real job, Dad needed help with the property taxes. When my sister got married, my parents needed help paying for the venue deposit. When Tara started talking about having kids, suddenly there were fertility appointments they couldn't handle alone. I didn't even think of it as exploitation at the time. I thought it was just being the responsible one. It added up quietly. $250 here, $600 there. A short-term loan that never came back. A credit card I paid off because it was hurting Dad's score. A contractor deposit that I covered for now. By that summer, I had done the math one night and realized I'd funneled around $22,000 to $25,000 into my parents and sister in less than a year. And the entire time, Lily was being treated like a guest who overstayed. So, when Dad stood in my backyard with a realtor and told me I'd be sleeping in the garage like a teenager who messed up, it wasn't random. It was the end of a long pattern. They weren't just taking space. They were taking the whole story, the house, the stability, the proof that Lily and I had built something without them. Here's what made the backyard scene even uglier. This house wasn't some random place I bought at the top of the market. It was my grandmother's house, Grandma Ruth. She was the only one in that family who ever looked at Lily like she was fully real. She learned Lily's favorite cereal. She kept extra markers in a jar just for her. She put Lily's drawings on the fridge with magnets like they mattered. 2 years before the realtor incident, Grandma had moved into assisted living after a fall. She was sharp, but her body couldn't do stairs anymore. Dad had swooped in like a vulture with paperwork, power of attorney, handling things. He convinced Grandma to let me and Lily live in the house temporarily because he didn't want strangers renting it. I paid the bills. I repaired the roof leak. I replaced the water heater. I kept the garden alive because Grandma loved her garden. Dad still called it the family house. Not Grandma's house, not my home, the family house, which really meant the house they planned to use whenever they felt like it. That afternoon, while the realtor walked around, Tara's twins rode their bikes straight through Lily's chalk drawings on the patio. One of them glanced back and said, "Oops," like it was funny. Kyle shrugged and said, "We'll redo all this anyway." Lily's chalk drawing was a little city, roads, stop signs, tiny stick figures, people holding hands. She'd drawn one tall person and one small person and labeled them me and Dad. The bike tires smeared the word Dad into a gray streak that I watched Lily through the kitchen window. She didn't make a sound. She just picked up her snowflake chalk and set it on the counter. Like she didn't know where to put herself. I should have known then that if I didn't stop this, I'd spend the rest of my life watching my child learn that love was conditional and space was something you had to earn. That night, after they left, I did exactly what I said. I started packing. Not dramatically, quietly, numbly. I pulled boxes out of the garage apartment. Yes, the small apartment above the detached garage. The one Dad was so eager to assign me like a punishment. I filled one box with Lily's books, one with kitchen items, one with her framed school photo. Lily sat on the living room rug with her stuffed rabbit, watching me tape the boxes shut. Finally, very softly, she asked, "Did I do something wrong?" That sentence felt like someone pressing a thumb into a bruise. I crouched in front of her. "No, you didn't." She stared at the tape dispenser like it was dangerous. "Are we getting kicked out?" I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want to place the full weight of adult cruelty on her shoulders. So I told her the truth that mattered most. "We're not staying where we're not wanted." She nodded, like she understood more than an 8-year-old should. Then she went to her room and started putting clothes into a backpack. She didn't ask what to pack. She already knew how to leave. That part made me feel sick. It meant she'd been practicing emotional exits for a long time. Around 10:40 p.m., while I was wrapping a glass ornament in newspaper, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. "Don't leave. Check the basement." Grandma. I froze. Grandma didn't text. She barely used her phone, and the number wasn't hers. For a moment, I thought it was a scam. Then another message came through, behind the freezer. "The panel. Bring a flashlight." My heart started pounding, too loud for the quiet house. I went to Lily's doorway. She was lining up her stuffed animals on the bed like she was planning a tiny evacuation. "Hey, Lil," I said gently. "Can you stay in your room for a minute? I'm going to check something downstairs." She nodded without looking up. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer. The basement door was off the hallway, the old wooden one that always stuck in winter. I went down slowly, each step creaking like it wanted attention. The basement smelled like concrete and old paint. An old white freezer sat in the corner, scratched and humming, even though no one used it. Dad insisted it stay plugged in, just in case. Behind it, the wall looked slightly different. The paint shade was off. I crouched and ran my hand along the baseboard. There was a seam. A panel. My stomach dropped. I pried it open with my fingers. It shifted easily, like it had been opened before. Behind it was a narrow cavity between the studs. Inside sat a small metal lockbox and a thick envelope wrapped in plastic. My hands shook as I pulled them out. The envelope had my name written in Grandma Ruth's handwriting. "Miles. Not to the family. Not for your father. Just me." I carried everything upstairs to the kitchen table like it was fragile. I didn't open it right away. I sat there for a full minute, listening to the house breathe. Then I broke the seal. Inside was a letter and a stack of documents. Grandma didn't waste words. "Miles, if you're reading this, your father has tried to take the house from you. I'm sorry." I told him no. He didn't listen. "This home is not a prize for whoever yells the loudest. It's yours. You kept it alive. You kept me alive. You kept that little girl alive when no one else bothered to learn her heart. I changed the trust. I recorded it. Your father is no longer the trustee. He will try to scare you. He will try to rush you. Don't let him. Call the attorney. His number is inside. And Miles, check the lockbox. You deserve to know what your father has been doing with my money. Love, Grandma Ruth. I read it twice. Then I looked at the documents. There it was in black and white. An updated trust amendment naming me as trustee and sole decision-maker for the house. Not Dad. There was also a recorded deed transfer. Already filed, already official. My father had been walking around my backyard with a realtor while legally having no right to sell it. But the real punch was the lockbox that I opened it with the small key taped inside the envelope. Inside were bank statements and handwritten notes. Grandma's accounts. Withdrawals that didn't match her care costs. Checks made out to cash. Transfers to my dad. Transfers to Tara. Beside one line, in Grandma's handwriting, was a note. Asked him what this was for. He lied. My mouth went dry. This wasn't just about my house. This was about my grandmother being drained while she sat in assisted living, trusting the wrong person. Suddenly, the backyard scene made sense. They weren't just greedy, they were desperate. They'd spent money that wasn't theirs and needed something big to cover it. A house sale would do it. And they were willing to shove me and Lily into a garage to get it. I went upstairs and checked on Lily. She was asleep on top of her blanket, her backpack still open beside the bed, like she'd fallen asleep halfway through an escape. Her little rabbit was tucked under her chin, and something firm settled in my chest. Not rage, clarity. I wasn't going to argue with my dad or beg for respect. I was going to draw one clean boundary that didn't need permission. The next morning, I made coffee, sat with Grandma's documents, and called the attorney listed in her letter. It was 8:12 a.m. He answered on the second ring. After I confirmed my name, he said, "Your grandmother told me this call might come." I told him about the realtor. His voice went flat. "He can't list the house. He has no authority. You do." I mentioned the power of attorney. "Revoked," he said. "We can send notice today." "Do it," I said. Then I made the second call, the bank. I stopped the automatic transfers, removed connected accounts, changed passwords, and took my name off utilities that weren't mine. One by one, confirmation emails came in. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt lighter. Lily came into the kitchen and froze at the boxes. I knelt down. "We're not moving today." She hesitated. "So my room is still my room?" I nodded. She smiled carefully, like it might disappear if she smiled too big. The fallout started fast. Calls, voicemails, then a text from Dad. "Why aren't the transfers going through?" I replied once. "I'm not funding a family that treats my child like she doesn't matter." At 2:15 p.m., they showed up. No warning. Dad marched up the steps. Tara and Kyle followed. "You came to your senses," Dad said, seeing the boxes. "You can't list this house," I said calmly. "Watch me." I held up the folder. Grandma changed the trust. "I'm the trustee. The house isn't for sale." Their faces shifted. Dad denied it. Tara whispered. "She wouldn't." "She did," I said. Dad tried authority. Kyle muttered, "Real family needs the space." That's when Lily appeared behind me, barefoot, rabbit in hand. Kyle smiled at her. "Looks like you'll have a cool little apartment soon." My dad still didn't look at her. I said, quietly, "You're done using me. You're off my accounts. I'm not paying your bills, and you're not selling this house." "This is selfish," Dad snapped. "No," I said. "I'm protecting my daughter." Then I stepped back, closed the door, and locked it. I stood there while they yelled outside. Lily tugged my shirt. "Are they mad?" I crouched down and said, "Yes." She blinked. "Are we okay?" I looked at her and told the truth again. "We are okay." The next week was a flood of guilt. Texts saying my mother was crying, my sister couldn't sleep, I was breaking the family apart, Grandma was confused, I was taking advantage of her. That last one, from my dad, nearly made me throw my phone. The man who had been siphoning money from her account, he tried to charm the staff at Grandma's assisted living and paint me as unstable. He didn't expect the attorney to have already sent the revocation notice. He didn't expect Grandma to have named me as the decision maker. And he definitely didn't expect Grandma herself to look at him and say, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I know what you did." Dad went stiff. Grandma didn't look at me for permission. She told him, "You used my money like it was yours. You won't touch another dime." Tara showed up crying later, trying to hug Grandma. Grandma only said, "You wanted the house. You didn't want the people in it." Kyle never came. He only liked family when it came with square footage. When I stopped funding them, everything collapsed fast. It wasn't a tight month, it was a lifestyle. Tara called saying they might lose their rental. I waited for her to apologize to Lily. She didn't. She just said, "You have to help." I said, "No." She accused me of letting her kids suffer. I didn't take the bait. "I'm not your backup bank." She said Dad told her I'd turned Grandma against them. Dad did that himself, I said, and hung up. The realtor dropped them after the title search showed Dad had no authority. Paper bead entitlement. Dad tried showing up at my job. Security walked him out. He left a voicemail telling me I'd regret humiliating him. I saved it, for documentation, not revenge. Lily changed slowly. She stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. She put her drawings back on the fridge. One afternoon, she asked if she could repaint the birdhouse in the backyard. We painted it together. Purple roof, yellow sides, a crooked heart. When Grandma was stable, she came over and watched Lily paint. Lily asked, "Do you like it?" Grandma smiled. "It looks like home." That spring, we planted a small maple tree. Lily packed down the dirt and said, "This one stays." "Yes," I told her. "It stays." By Christmas, there were no invitations from my parents, just silence. And the silence was a gift. Lily and I decorated our own tree. Grandma told stories that felt more honest now that on Christmas morning, Lily opened a sketchbook and markers like they were treasure. She drew our house, our yard, the maple tree, and 3 stick figures holding hands. Me, Dad, Grandma Ruth. She taped it to the fridge herself. No asking. No fear. That was the closure. Not winning. Not revenge. Just my child standing in her own home, knowing she didn't have to earn her place or pack a bag in the middle of the night ever